Hi everyone, it's Evangeline here at etrailer, and today we have the Hollywood Rack's Destination 4-bike platform rack. We'll take a look at how it fits our 2022 Ford Edge. So the Destination 4 is one of my favorite racks when it comes to carrying around a lot of bikes without taking a lot of space and without spending a lot of money, because this is going to be a quick and easy way to get bikes in different shapes and sizes. And from experience, I do know that it works really well with your smaller children's bikes as well. So if you want to upgrade from your hanging rack and you want more stability, I would highly recommend looking at the Destination 4. There are some downsides to this rack though, and with the Ford Edge, we're going to talk about that. The main downside is that you cannot tilt this rack away. So if you need to open up your hatch in your vehicle, you are going to have to take your bikes off. So that could be an issue for some people. If you do want a rack that does tilt away and carries 4 bikes, I recommend maybe taking a look at the Rocky Mounts monorail. That one does have a 3-bike maximum platform rack though. Now here we have our mountain bike, and there are 3 touch points for this. So that way your bike's different shapes can still be accommodated for. So 2 of those touch points are going to be your wheel straps. There's a front and a rear wheel strap, and in order to take those straps out, you just press this lever and that releases that strap, and then you can lift it up and over. When you're loading the bike, you're going to start with the frame mount and end with the straps. Taking off the bike, you do vice versa. So fortunately, these straps pivot around so they don't get caught up in the wheels. But now we're going to go to the frame mount. And this is where you have to be a little creative, because I like to use my elbow around the wheel to hold it in place as I move this strap around. You might want someone else just to help stabilize as you get to that mast. But once that's released, you can then grab your bike and go. Notice, because of that short mast design, I only have to lift my bike this high up to get off of that cradle. Now we're ready to hit the trails. So while it looks like it might be a bulkier rack, it's actually on the compact side. Because of the way it's shaped, you have those, I like to call them the wings, because of how the cradles are shaped for those different wheel bases. So if you have a longer bike or a shorter bike, you just tilt the straps back and forth, and you find a common spot for them in the center where the mast is. And you're not limited to a certain spot on your frame either, because these mast or these frame mounts can move up, down, side to side, and even around. So if you find a better spot on your top tube, or if you find a better spot for it further along your frame, you can make this work for you. With the bikes off, now let's take a look for if we can open up our hatch. And yes, we can. So even with the mast up, we are now able to get access in there, grab whatever we need, whether it's our helmet, our bags, if we need to switch out our shoes. Now is the time to do so. It was a bit of a bummer that we had to take the bikes off, but that is just how this type of a rack works. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lower this mast to make the rack more compact. So you loosen that knob just enough so you can lift that stand out of the way, and then you can bring this mast down. You have different options. You can go this way, you can go that way. You can use either a wheel strap or a frame mount to secure the mast. It really is up to you. Although, whichever one you pick, I just recommend rotating between the different straps so they all have equal wear and tear. So this is going to be, with a 4-bike platform rack, going to add a good amount of length. But like I mentioned earlier, it's still technically compact. So measuring from the bumper to the end of the rack by the reflectors, you have 39 inches of space added. So that's something worth considering too when you're trying to back into your garage or into a tight spot. See if you have enough clearance for that. And your bike's handlebars at the end will add even more to that too. Now, there's also ground clearance to consider. So with this wing design, it sits 18.25 inches off the ground on the sides, and then 23 inches at the center. Compare that to the shank, where the shank sits 11 inches off the ground. So there's definitely a shank rise, so it sits higher up off the ground compared to where your hitch receiver is. By the way, notice how we have a lock at the end. So you can use the Hollywood Rack's cable lock to secure your bikes while they're on the rack. Now, what if you don't have enough space for this inside your garage? What you can do is you can fold this up. To do so, there's this clip. We're going to remove this retaining clip because then you can unthread this bolt. Once that bolt is released, you just let that hang as you go over here to the end and lift up on the rack. Once this is upright, you then find that hole again and pop it into place. So the rack itself was very lightweight. Lifting it up and down was really easy for me. But that's also because this doesn't have that much of a weight capacity. You have a 35-pound per bike weight capacity, which is pretty normal actually for most hanging racks and most of your entry-level platform racks. But if you have a heavy electric bike, I do not recommend this rack for you because 35 pounds is definitely something worth considering. And that's when I mentioned again the Rocky Mountain monorail as an alternative with a heavier capacity. With it folded up, let's take some more measurements. Closest point, plenty of clearance here, especially once you make the straps more compact. There is from the bumper to the rack about 3 inches of clearance there. So definitely something I am not worried about. The next measurement is going to be bumper to end of rack. And I have it at 11 inches or almost 1 foot. So big difference compared to when it was folded down. You'll want it in this position when you're just planning on driving around town and you don't need to take your bike rack out or your bikes out just yet. But what is it like living with a bike rack behind you all the time? Well, with it folded up, it's really nice to see we have full visibility through our rear window. Even with it in upright position, our taillights are still visible. People can still see us use our blinkers and if we're braking. Now, our license plate back here is in an interesting spot because there is an open design in the destination tray. So our license plate is shown right through there, which also means that our backup camera sits right there. Backup camera sits right where this mast is in the middle, which means when you go into reverse, you are definitely going to see the bike rack in your view, but you'll be able to see kind of through the bike rack if there are any vehicles or people behind you. It won't be full visibility for you though, so if that's a major issue, just go ahead and put it in the down position as you drive around. Well, with all that being said, this does have or does require a 2-inch hitch receiver. If you do not already have a 2-inch hitch on your forward edge, you can find one here at etrailer. You do need to use a wrench to tighten down the anti-rattle bolt. I use a 3/4 inch socket wrench just to make sure that our connections are nice and secure. And that way it's not rattling around as we drive down the highway. So if you do have a lighter bike or a normal weight bike and you have different shapes and sizes, whether it's a children's bike or a step-through bike, this rack will be able to carry it. It's nice to be able to carry around 4 bikes with the stability of a platform rack. The downsides are it does not tilt away and it does not have an electric bike capacity. I did mention some racks throughout this video that may be an alternative for you. But this right here was a look at the Hollywood Rack's destination for bike platform rack, and you saw it on the 2022 Ford Edge.
Now we're going to go ahead and take it on our test course. First we'll start with the slaloms. This is going to show the side-to-side action. It's kind of going to mimic the movements that you'll see whenever you're driving down the road normally. Now we'll have the alternating speed bumps. This is going to be more so like the uneven roads and some of that uneven terrain you might be traveling on, and see how it holds up.